You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Paul Brophy. And today, Roisin, we're joined by former Fianna Fail councillor for the Callan-Thomastown electorate area, Matt Doran, who is also parliamentary assistant to Deputy Peter Chap Cleere, Fianna Fail TD for Kilkenny. Matt, you're very, very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you very much, and you're very welcome to Deputy Peter's office.
It's a lovely office.
Yeah, we're really pleased. Opened a number of months ago, and it turned out fabulous. I have to credit Max Stan Construction, who I suppose turned it inside out and turned it into the office that it is, and it's fabulous. We're absolutely thrilled to be in the location of the village here. They've really made us at home here and made us welcome. So we're delighted, and Chap is thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Yeah.
The location is, as they say, location. Right. But you're right in the top of Patrick Street for the viewers. The top of Patrick Street here in Kilkenny City.
Yeah.
And it's in, as you say, it's in the heart of the village, and people can easily park.
Yes.
And just walk down from there. They can walk up. It's very accessible.
You'd be surprised, Roisin, the amount of people that are just heading down to town and they drop into, they just think of a rep maybe that they wanted to check or a query, and they just pop in and pop out, and job is done. And it's terrific now. We're blown away by the response we're getting here.
And Matt, last year you stepped down as the county councillor after 22 years. How have you found the time since? Probably didn't have much of a break between between stepping down as a councillor and then the general election campaign.
No, and I suppose back, I think 18 months before the election, Fianna Fail came looking for nominees to go forward again. It was assumed I'd go, and I just lost my brother after a cancer fight. So I found it hard to kind of commit to it, and I said, look, go ahead without me. And everything moves on then, and I supported Joe Sheridan, my good friend, and worked with Joe then for the canvass following that June 2024 election, and that took several months, and then helping Joe out and still working with him. And then the general election was coming up, and Peter Chap asked me to help him out, and I did. Got heavily involved there, thoroughly enjoyed working with him, and once he got elected, then he suggested I come work with him, and I've been with him now 3 days a week, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, but it's so busy. But it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly.
And you have a very, very genuine county councillors as well as Chap Cleere. I think that's something when people speak to Deputy Chap Cleere, Peter Chap Cleere, a lot of people, even before I knew who he was, in 2014, when he was a county councillor, people were talking down in the Gregna Manor area about, the Peter Chap Cleere. A lot of people would say that he's very genuine, very sincere, and also a very dedicated family man.
All of the above, yeah. I got to know him in 2014 when he entered politics there. Hadn't really knew of him through the hurling, of course. And immediately you just become wrapped up in his atmosphere, in his personality, and his energy and his drive. And I always say, if you get 5 minutes with Chap, you want to give another 5 with him. He has that natural likability factor, as I said, hugely genuine. Probably one of the most genuine, honest people that I've worked with or ever got to know. And first and foremost, then are his family. And I tell the story of a week after the election, and the crew in Mulnavat were putting together a celebratory night, and I was involved with him, and I rang Chap and said, look, we have a night on Friday night to celebrate. And he said, I can't. And I said, why? And he said, Late Tie Show's on. And I said, oh, you going up to it? He said, no, but that's family night at home with the girls. So the night was cancelled and rearranged, and that's the type of man he is. He will put other people first and foremost, but is a hell of a worker. And as I said, he's very, very genuine, means what he says. There's no bluff. Says it as it is, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's something that I think we all like and appreciate from him.
And we're going to talk about your career in a little moment, but I think it's nice. You are now, so you're looking after all the county councillors and in between all the offices.
Yeah, we have a great team of councillors working with us, and they're continuously dropping in and out for support, furthering their queries, maybe especially the national ones. You know, the county councillors look after the local issues and look after them very well. But then Chap can come on board maybe and help with the national, which is not always easy. He has the ability to fast track. So many of the councillors are here. We probably see some of them every single day, and it's great because they bring work with them, but they're also then, promoting Chap as the one who maybe was successful in the reps that they bring. So it's a huge team. And a really good team, and the councillors are delighted to be on board with us as well. And they really appreciate the office here. It's so reachable, and as I said, we're here 5 days a week, and even in the evening times there, we often have evening meetings here. So we'll try and facilitate councillor or any member of the public at whatever day, at whatever time.
Right.
And what would be kind of the big issues that would be coming up at the moment when you see people coming in with queries?
Yeah, I suppose one of the things, Paul, that we with the staff, we have 4 people, including myself, that cover kind of 13 days. That's the way we have it timetabled out. What surprised, I suppose, some of those that hadn't been used to political life, the varying queries. They can be anything from a school bus ticket to one's pension, social welfare. It's just everything you could possibly dream of. We had a request there recently from a lady who had brought a cat from India and was in quarantine, and she couldn't get the cat out. So Chap worked on that, negotiated his way with the department, and the cat now is back with our beloved. Yeah, brought tears to that lady. So incredible stories, and they vary from you. It's hard to imagine. Your day can vary so much. We'd often say from a cat to someone's pension who hasn't got the right amount or has been suffering with unnecessary bills and need help with those or whatever. So there's such a wide range, and you become accustomed to dealing with those, and Chap will always go that extra mile then to get it over the line.
It's something that Paul and I, and Paul, you would agree with me, that we found, we knew before, both on our previous radio programs, but even more so since we've been presenting and producing the Irish Political Roundup, how the importance of county councillors, what the purpose and the intention and the work that you do, that maybe the general public don't understand, and certainly the media attention is not put this way.
Yeah.
You can go on the radio, with which we both were on, where you can just come in and interview, but county councillors. But the work that you do and how you actually impact people's lives in the local communities. We were down in Mullinnavat with your councillor, Jenny Cat-Slashry, and we walked from the Roisin Sun pub, because I forget names, isn't that right, Paul? Yeah. Right the way down to the bottom of the street. The amount of people that genuinely waved, came over and spoke to her. But it's more so about the community, from the rural communities to the villages to the towns and to the whole county.
Yeah. For me, I never saw being a councillor as being a politician. For me, it was always about community. And I must just acknowledge the late Ned Kerwin, who passed away last week. Ned insisted I run for the local elections back in 2002, and I thought it should be him. But for him, it was all about the communities, all about the parishes, the local parishes. And politically, it didn't matter what badge you wore, but it mattered that he felt that we should everywhere should have a county councillor, and it makes such a difference. And sometimes I think the vast majority of people don't realise the amount of work that councillors do. You're 24/7 really, and you're taking it. I'd say in my time, you would never get through an evening dinner without taking a call, but you'll take that call, and you'll take it gladly, and you'll do what you can with it. So it's it's certainly, I suppose, not considered by the majority to be as important as it is. And the likes of Mullavat now that have Jenny back in place there as a councillor, a new councillor full of energy. And already, the people of Mullavat would acknowledge, how lucky they are to have someone like Jenny back working as a councillor for the area.
Because, there's only so much kind of say money to go around in the pot, and when, it's been discussed where to be allocated, if you don't have that local voice there, making the case, that area can miss out.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, anywhere that have any parish that's lucky enough to have a councillor, and the adjoining parishes, the hinterland around those, will all benefit from that councillor doing his part and working his part. And you're going to get a slice of that cake, however small it might be, but you're going to be considered. And that's the importance. And local politics is just so important. So, and it is about community, and it is about becoming part of your community. And the majority of us that were county councillors prior to that were heavily involved in the community, whether it was hurling clubs or parish clubs or whatever. But you're kind of grounded in that, I think, and that I think helps you to become, or should help you to become a good county councillor. Yeah.
And county councillors, you are the grassroots, the boots on the ground, but also the voices of the people of local community, where you feed that up the chain within the party and up to Deputy Chap Cleere.
Yeah, and I mean, all of us and every present county councillor, they do it for the love of the community and they enjoy it, and there's a feel-good factor, and you don't get everything, you won't get everything over the line, and you won't have success with everything that you work for, but there's still a good feel-good factor, and there's nights you'll be disappointed, but then the following evening then you might have a success and it makes it all worthwhile. But everyone that's in it is in it for the community, is in it for the workers, and be part of the county council and try and make a difference for their area.
So that brings us on to Councillor Doran. Former Councillor Doran. What got you involved? What sort of was the motivation, and what inspired you into action to become a county councillor?
Well, in 2002, the great Lee Melrod was promoted Minister of Sport. And as a result of that, he had to vacate his council seat. And Ned Kerwin, who was chairman at the Common at home, rang me one morning. I was going to work, and he said, "Did you hear the news?" And I said, "No." He said, "Lee Melrod is after being promoted to minister." I said, "Geez, that's great." And he said, "Oh, it is great." He said, "But it's even greater now is there's an opportunity for someone to go into council." And he said, I want you to do it. And sure, I said, I think you should do it, Ned. And we hummed and hawed for 3 days. And then I read on the Kilkenny People that I was being nominated, and I was in the race, and got through the convention that time. Didn't know what I was walking into or what I was doing, but I just loved it from day one and loved it as much the day I finished. Was sorry to leave, but once you make that call, then you kind of have to stick with it. And it made it, I suppose, you could justify it then with Joe coming in. But every day I was a councillor, I loved it, and wouldn't have changed much about it. It's so enjoyable. And if you weren't enjoying it, you probably wouldn't keep going every 5 years for election. And I was so fortunate. Every time I ran, I got massive votes and massive support.
Which you topped the poll on a couple of occasions, so it's a clear indication that the work you were doing on the ground was having an impact.
Yeah, the people were very, very loyal to me, Paul. I mean, they were incredible. In 2014, the whole boundary changed, and I had a choice to make whether I'd run in Piltown or in Kilkenny West, and I choose Kilkenny West. It meant I couldn't vote for myself. I lost my home parishes around with the change. But the people in the remaining part of the electoral area really came out and topped the poll for me, and that was an incredible kind of vote of confidence for me, and I really appreciate that, along with every election that I went through.
So, and your successor, Joe Sheridan, he got a fabulous vote there back in June of last year. I suppose you were talking about people who were involved in the community. So Joe was involved in the community for years, and it certainly helped him as regards retaining your seat.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe is a fantastic guy. I was delighted when Joe put his hand up because you just felt if we could get him over the line that he would be a great councillor, and he is. He's only a year into it, and it does take time, but he's finding his feet and he's making his mark. And that whole surround parish of Dunnamaggin and surrounding parishes, they all appreciate Joe coming in and holding that position of councillor, because they've seen the difference we can make.
And it's teamwork that you have with yourself, Deputy Chap Cleere, and the county councils and the staff here. It's that teamwork, it's that working as a team, and it's working for the community. There's an awful lot of people. Are we going back to that? Did you think for maybe a decade where the perception of politicians and county councillors wasn't for the community, but now it seems to be back to... That's what we found, Paul, didn't we, when we were doing this? Now it's about the county councillors. People are actually saying, the county councillors. People get more interested, especially younger people, in the local elections and what county councillors do.
Yeah, and I think anybody that gets involved in community work or community in committees or local groups, they do form a kind of a bond with the locals. They do get a taste of what local politics is like. And for those that are lucky enough to pursue it, if you're in it, you never want to lose it. And that's why people work so hard to try and maintain their position. And I think Chap has brought a new energy to politics. And I think you find that around Kilkenny. This young man, he's just 41 years of age with so much experience. He has brought an enthusiasm with him, and that we all feel great to be working with him. We have a really good team here. Trina Maloney, who was at one time housing officer with Kilkenny County Council, we asked Trina to come on board. Caroline Morrissey, who was in Nolan Park, heading up Nolan Park, and that was a massive undertaking out there. And she has joined us. And then Jenny Slattery in Mullavat, and myself. So we work here with Chap, and he as I said, to work with Chap is a pleasure every day. I wouldn't change one thing about that man. He's just incredible. And as I said, he brings that energy, and I've never seen him in bad form. He smile on his face. I'd say that smile is on him going to sleep. I'd say, and it's certainly on him when he wakes up and when he comes in here, no matter what the pressure is. And it's a seriously busy office now. It's incredibly busy. When Chap and I were planning after the election how we'd manage it and how we'd staff and how busy was it going to be, we had absolutely no idea we were going to get the levels of calls that we're getting. It's just, it's incredible. He's thrilled, with the response that he's got from the public. And it's up to us now to try and maintain that. 5 years don't be long coming around, and we know that, and we remind ourselves of that every week. Just got to keep up the good work and keep up the responses and keep getting those reps in and keep dealing with the public as much as we can. And we're planning now, maybe after summer, that we'll get out on the road a bit and do a couple of maybe area constituencies there, and try and just engage with the public in the areas that maybe we haven't. But time has moved very fast. We're only 8-9 months since Chap was elected, and there's so much done. You can see the office here; it's fabulous. And again, people when they come in, they say, "Well, fair play. You've done some job on it, and we hope you'll be here for a long time to come." And that's his aim. But the public will decide that, and it's for us then to make sure that they will decide it, and that we're doing what we should be doing.
And as a county councillor, we go back to you at the moment, right? Because you had a very long career as a county councillor.
Yeah.
And working for the local community. Is there any particular things that you got over the line or you delivered for your local area that you are particularly proud of, or that you thought was so purposeful?
Yeah, and I'm often asked that, Roisin, is there any one thing that stands out? And there's not really, because there's just so much happens, and you get something over the line today and something big is coming at you again tomorrow, or something that mightn't appear so big but it's hugely important to a family or something. So everything just moves on, and I was never one to dwell on what I did yesterday or what I'm going to do next week. You just go day by day, because again, it's so busy. And every success you had, or everything that you worked on, as I said, it's big at the time, but then there's something bigger or something more important, maybe to a different group of people or a different family. As a councillor, you're working with individuals, with families, and with local area groups, and one is equally as important as the next. And I was never one to kind of note what I had done or taken, or there's no diary of all the work I'd done. I was never into that. I was just very much someone on the ground. I used to like getting out. When I come home from work every evening, I'd have my dinner and I'd be back out on the road that night. Caroline would ring me about 9:30. She'd say, "You nearly done?" I'd say, "I'd be home by 10." And I'd say I was never home before 10, but it's just something that you love doing. And you're calling there to people's houses, and you're doing house calls and meeting people, and that was an area. For me, the greatest thing that I've done as a county councillor was the friendships that I made. I have some fantastic people out there who I got to know through the local council, and who are my friends right up to today. And that to me is the most important thing as a councillor, that you form those bonds and those friendships.
And everybody that walks through the door, who brings a rep here or question, it's really personal.
Yeah.
And it's bringing, and even giving them the time, even if you can't sort of deliver, but you give them options, or just to know that if a county councillor is working on your behalf, that they're working on it because they believe in the community, and every person that walks in the door issue is equally as important as something that is being taken to the door.
Very much so. And we have an understanding here that if somebody wants to meet Chap, if they don't want to come into the office, Chap will call to their house, and that happens every day. Or I might be the one who'll go do the call and do the initial hearing, and note taking, and then take it to Chap, and we'll work together on it. So there's a very open relationship here with everybody. We're in Chap's office now, but that's an office for any one of us that are here during the day, and somebody wants to have a quiet word. This is the private room in here, front room there. We'll all take our turns using this office as we need, and we all have our various strengths and interests to deal with the various reps that come in. So far, it's working really, really well. And as I said, it's every rep is a confidential one, and every call is confidential. And that's something when you talk about as a councillor, maybe that sometimes we're not maybe considered to be as important as we might be, because most of the jobs and most of the reps that you're doing are private, and nobody needs to know, and nobody will know, only the person that you're working on. And it's very much the same here. You'll hear, Chap maybe doing a press release on a roads announcement or something like that. That's general, but 99% of his reps are private and confidential, family-wise, and nobody knows about him, and nobody knows the amount of work he's doing except those families. You'd hope then collectively that the positive words get out there, and we're getting great feedback as a result of that.
And I think, I don't know if you, Roisin, you may agree with me. I suppose the unique thing about Irish politics is that how close, the access you can have to your politicians, be they local or national. Like in other parts of the world, your representative, they get elected and you won't see them for till the next election. But sometimes we give out about Irish politics, but the fact that I think that people and our politicians are so close to each other as regards, it's very easy, meet them, contact them, that kind of gives, Irish politics a certain uniqueness.
It does, and as it should be, Chap would be the first one, to make sure that he's out and about there, and be as many places as possibly to do, and whether it is a match or or some type of exhibition or whatever the case will be, you make sure you get there and you make yourself available and you make your presence felt, because it's hugely appreciated by those that are hosting an event or something that, you know, the deputy chap came to that, or, you know, whatever the case will be. So it is Ireland is probably special in that way, where the politicians are readily available at any one time, 24/7 again. They're always at the other end of the phone and there to meet. You know, Chap has clinics here every Mondays and Fridays. He's in Dublin Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And during that time, then we will have various discussions or team meetings with Chap if he's in Leinster House. Sometimes we go to Leinster House with him for particular roles that might demand us there. So there's continuous interaction with Deputy Chap and ourselves, like.
And we actually witnessed that ourselves, because recently, the last time we were up, 2 days before the Dáil sort of stopped for summer recess, you had the delegation up from the N25 group up, where Deputy Chap had took them, arranged a meeting, facilitated that to the Minister of Transport.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a huge amount of work on the N24 there, and you know, himself and Minister O'Brien have been on numerous occasions, and Minister has been down here again on that particular stretch of road. But Chap has done incredible work, and you know, and everybody takes credit when something begins to happen. But I think that committee that went to Dublin, they know at first hand who had masterminded this success, I think.
Because, you know, something that we're witnessing very much is the role of the community and the working relationship with the county councillors that work with the TD and the local senators. But it is very personal when you come to a county councillor. And also, we're talking about the community, we're talking about others. But it's not just the councillor, it's the families as well supporting the local councillor. So you have the county councillor, but it's also the family backing of the county councillor.
Yeah, and you know, if you look at that hard-working committee there around Glenmore, I mean, Ger Frisbee was very active there on that one, because he's one of them, and he's considered to be local. So when they pull a committee together, the likes of Ger, and if Ger wasn't a county councillor, he'd probably be on that committee, because he's that kind of a person. You know, he's always looking for to get the better part, get the job done, and you know, and most county councillors are the same. You know, and they're involved and they're hugely respected. And you know, it's oftentimes you know, we're contacted when we're needed, and otherwise. But that level of respect is maintained for you, whether they're calling you or not. An awful lot of people will never have to call a county council, but they will look after you in the vote, because they believe that you're a good and decent and honest person. And for that reason, because of how you're standing in the community, that's why they look after you. Because they know if they do need you, or if they do need help, that you're going to be there. You know.
One thing I noticed, Paul, I think we've talked about this many a time, that local county councils, when they're elected, it's a personal vote. It's not always a party vote. It's a personal vote.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I mean, you don't get it for nothing either. You know, you get it because you're regarded as somebody who has the ability and the capability of doing the job. You're somebody that they trust and believe in. And like I said, they might never need you, but they know if they do, that you're the one that they're going to be there from. So it is local, and you know, it's so important.
Absolutely. And if you look at the local elections results across the country, a huge percentage of incumbents, you know, retain their seats. So being there, being established, doing the work on the ground, it does really matter.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the public will be very quick to tell you if you're not doing the work, or if you're not being there when they need you. 5 years come around, and you will get the result if you're not doing it. And likewise, if you're doing the work, and they still hold you in the regard that you should be held in, or that you feel you should be held in, well, you'll get the result as well. You know.
Absolutely. And as I said, you were on Kilkenny County Council for 22 years. What would have been kind of, say, the biggest changes you've seen over those 22 years, so say from when you started to the end? Did the job did it change? Did it become more demanding? What would have been kind of the biggest changes you would have seen throughout that time?
I have to say, Paul, my biggest gripe over the period of time is the whole issue of data protection.
Right.
And, I understand, and we all understand, that it's a must. You must protect the data that you're being given and that you're looking for. But it has gone overboard. And for us now, oftentimes when we go to do a rep, we have to get a letter signed to say it's okay to work on my behalf, which is okay, but it can delay things for us. It's my pet hate, and I think it's just a little more common sense in how it's been dealt with, would streamline the whole area of data protection. We work in an area that we're protecting people's, what we're working for. We're protecting their rights. We're protecting what they've asked us to do. But the data protection thing is just something that I feel has gone overboard from where it was. And sometimes we go from one extreme to the other. And I think on this one, we've gone to the far extreme on it. But look, it's in place. It'll never go back. And I understand the reasons for it. And we'll work within that. But in council then, I suppose, changes, many changes, but it's a kind of a gradual change, Paul, from when you went in first. It wasn't as bureaucratic, I think, and it was, I think, it becomes very heavily loaded with meetings and that, and sometimes there's too many meetings, and for me, that monthly meeting of 3 hours to me is overdone. For me, the most important, and I've said that always, your local municipal meeting is the most important meeting for me. Always was and always will be. That's where your local issues are discussed. And I understand the monthly meeting has to be done. It's a collective. The collective councillors of all areas meet. But again, it's something I always try to, as Chleirigh, when I was Chleirigh, I always pleaded, let's just cut this back a little bit. I would always say to our team, there's 3 hours in County Hall. Even one of those hours could be much more fruitful for us in dealing with our engineers and our staff of County Council. But that's the way it is. It has gone a little more bureaucratic, I think, that way. But again, that's where we are, and changes will happen, and you go with those changes, and you just have to work within the boundaries that are set for you.
And do you think if the municipal districts had more powers and maybe more funding, that could make a difference? Because Ireland, if you look at all the stats out there, they do say we have one of the most kind of centralised forms of local government in the EU. Do you think giving more powers back to county councils, like at that level, would make a huge difference?
Most certainly. And I think it was around maybe 2010 or so, there was a huge belief from us all that area offices were going to become almost like a mini county hall, and that everything could be done within your local area office. It didn't happen, but it should. Because to me, it's the most important meeting. Your local area office staff are the ones that you talk to every single day, several times every day. So yeah, will it happen? I'm not so sure that it will, but it should. It should happen, yeah.
And everybody's talking about what are the local issues, and all the county councils we've been speaking to, most of them are the same. It's the water infrastructure, it's the lack of housing, it's the lack of school transport.
Yeah.
So even down we were down with Councillor Jenny Katz-Slattery, and she said Mullinabart is an ageing community, and even you can't build any more houses because of the water infrastructure.
Yeah.
Irish water, the Irish waste, water waste. And there was somebody there that wanted to come in privately and do it, and they weren't even allowed. So even private investors are being prohibited who want to come in and build houses and even build the water infrastructure are prohibited. Has common sense gone out the window in local politics and national?
Very much so. And I'd be killed for saying this, but the whole environmental approach, and we appreciate, things had to get better environmentally, but we're gone a little overboard on that whole area of land development and that, and I do appreciate there were areas developed that should never have been done, but we've learned from that. But now it has become very difficult to even do a one-off house. The whole environmental issues that surround that, and the governance over it. The wastewater treatment system is a joke, and at such time as that every area should have their own system upgraded or new systems put in place and allow development to happen. I mean, people talk about rural villages are dying, and they will die without development, and you need that input of new houses coming. Every parish has an area that could be developed for housing, if only they were helped and wastewater treatment systems were improved or made bigger. We're hindered by capacity left, right, and centre in every parish. Some worse than others. And that's an area, if I had a magic wand and could sort out one major issue, it would be the whole development, planning and development there, if that could be made easier.
There's even some businesses have to close because the water has been turned off because there's a leak or the pipes. The pipes are what we've learned, even just this year, that the housing crisis was down to the water crisis, and nobody's been talking about that until this year. But also for small local businesses are having to close because there's no water.
Yeah, and look, it's a basic need. I mean, I suppose that there's always the discussion, Ishkeern as they are now, that they need multi-millions to upgrade systems, but they just don't seem to be happening. Every hour of the day there, we're getting texts from the council saying water leakage, water breakage, water out, and we appreciate they're doing their best, but the whole system is ancient and needs a radical improvement and an overhaul, and allow further development to happen.
Do you think the Irish water and everything to do with Irish water should come back to local county councils?
Yeah, most definitely. It was a sad day when it became as it is now. I mean, every day of the week we'd have issue there with water services, and there was a time when we could go to the local authority there and they had first-hand knowledge and experience and the ability to go out there and repair or replace. That has gone. Trying to deal with Ishkeern now is a nightmare. And it's a nightmare for us. If you're in the general public trying to get a response there, it becomes literally impossible. It's a faceless organisation. You can't get to sit with anybody or talk to somebody. Lucky enough with the Oireachtas and Chap has a direct line into Ishkeern, and we use that every day. But if you're a part of the general public out there, you'd have to be hugely frustrated with that whole process.
You would, wouldn't you? Because
you would.
It's also the fact too that you talked about data protection a little earlier ago. But Irish Water, if you phone them at the weekend, you're getting through to Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, so where's the data protection there when that is only on safe harbour? It's not worth the paper it's written on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's it's frustrating, and as I said, fortunately, the likes of Chap there has the access, but even then it becomes a very difficult chore for us to get issues solved.
And do you think there's an appetite to reform and change Ishkeern or Irish Water, or is it just it is what it is at the moment and we're just stuck with it?
I think the energy is there, Paul, and I think in the next number of months, I think you'll see dramatic improvements in the whole system. I think you will see monies work with. I know Chap is raising it every opportunity he gets with the ministers to see can something be done to improve that whole water and wastewater plan of action. It's slow. It's too slow, and it's as I said, it's a basic requirement, and basic shouldn't be held forever on a never-ending line either.
And it's going to cost. The water pipes are there since nearly 100 years.
Yeah.
And the country's awash for money.
Yeah.
Is what we're told.
Yeah.
And yet, all the water pipes up and down the country, lengths and breadths of the country, need replacing.
Yeah, and Roisin, we're hearing, and Chap is hearing in Dublin that, that there's possible plans for big investment coming. But we just hope it comes soon, because it desperately needs it. I think it'll make a huge difference in every county, in every parish, for those systems to be improved.
So we talked about water. So now even about public transport. Here in Kilkenny, we have a new local bus route that we never had until a couple of years ago.
That's right.
We're one of the most beautiful counties here in Kilkenny. We're not being one bit biased, but a beautiful, even as a blow-in, most beautiful counties, and a very much of a tourist destination. And yet our public transport infrastructure outside the city, in the local areas, in the rural communities, the villages, there's no school transport. There is a fight and a war every year about school transport. And we were talking to Councillor Jenny Slattery again, and she was saying that one way it could be done is in Mullinnavat, there's no public transport to get students to school on time, especially for the third level for situ. And Mullinnavat is in the middle of Carlow and Waterford.
Yeah.
Yet there's no public transport to get them to lectures on time. And the solution, because here at the Irish Political Roundup, like you politicians, we like to come up with solution-based ideas.
Yeah.
And she came up, we asked her what would be the solution. And she said, we have a train station here in Mullinnavat. It's not being used. But it could be utilised by having a stop in Mullinnavat. That would cut down traffic congestion. That would keep the environmentalists happy.
Yeah.
It would relieve an awful lot of problems for parents, because parents are having then to pay for accommodation in Carlow and Waterford because they can't get the children. Is that something that's maybe logical, but that common sense isn't being brought in?
No. And it's an issue that Chap is in discussions with Éireann Road Éireann as we speak, about the possibility of Mullinnavat and likewise places that could be, who had a station. And it's not the biggest thing in the world to open it up again. And he's in discussions. Not easy to persuade the likes of Éireann Road Éireann of another stop. But certainly you never know how a service is going to operate until it's actually run. And Chap was trying to make the point, why not try it on a pilot scheme for 12 months just to see, would it work? We believe it will. And if a service is there, you talk about local transport. We now have a bus service that runs from Fidown in South Kilkenny through a couple of the villages, my own included, in Kilmagany, and into Kilkenny 5 times a day. Incredible use on it. And again, it was slow to start, but now every village, there's 4 and 5 people waiting for the bus to come. It has to be fine-tuned a little bit in terms of its operating times. But that was the idea of the Transport for Ireland, is that they were prepared to do a pilot scheme, look at it, amend it if possible, and just see about the success of it. But it's incredible. It goes from Fidown into Carrick-on-Shore, out to Tallahocht, Kilmagany, Dunnamaggin, Kells, Stonyford, and into Kilkenny through Danesfort. It's incredible, the people that are using it, young and old. I was on it myself yesterday evening going home, and you have probably 7 or 8 young teenagers got on in Kilkenny, got off in Stonyford, a few got on in Stonyford, got off in Kells. And it's a real drop and go. And it's please God, it'll be around and it can be replicated. I know in the north, Chap is talking to people in North Kilkenny to see can something like that be tried. And again, in time, the success should prove for itself. And likewise with the train and that. I mean, for those use, if you're, when we go to Dublin now, we go up to Leinster House, we go on the train. And hop off and jump on your loose, and it's a fabulous service if you can utilize it, and the times are right, and they are. And so I'm using the train more now than ever before, because of its convenience, and I park in Thomastown, and it's again the numbers that are using public transport. I think I heard yesterday, I think the numbers are up 11% this year on the previous year. And you'd actually see it for yourself when you use the public transport. But again, it can be, if it were to become more localised and service those rural villages, it will enhance country life and rural life, I think. Yeah.
And it's connecting local communities.
Absolutely. I was talking to a lady yesterday. She got on here in Ormond Street. She came in to see her friend, give 2 hours. Didn't go anywhere around town, but visited her friend, give 2 hours in the house with her, 5 minutes walk on the bus and home, and made her day. She's an old age pensioner, and she said a year ago I'd have to be considering getting a taxi in, if you could get one. And so she said, I some days I just come in and walk up High Street for half an hour, get a cup of tea, go home, and there's 2 or 3 hours gone. Happy out,
And it's like connecting the people, and where people have that connectivity. That's what all local politics is about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's connecting people and connecting people with within the communities.
Yeah, and it's like any facility, whether it is a community hall or whatever. If the facility is there and it's right, people will use it. If there's nothing there, well, then it'll die. And any service, and that's why I'd say to people there, use every service that you can, because it's use it or lose it. And at home, we're saying, use this bus because we want to make sure it's there in a year's time.
There's something when we were talking to Councillor Joe Sheridan, and then to even Jeff Frisbee and Councillor Slattery, was how the beautiful tourist attractions that they could be utilised, and they would also help the local economies and have more businesses within the local communities, but most of all, Irish tourism.
And to something we often discussed with the Brian Tyrrell, former tourism officer in Kilkenny, and now it's Martina Comfort, was the idea of getting people into Kilkenny is one thing, but then enabling them to get out to Kells and Innisteak and beautiful places like that. If the service was there, an hour, half an hour out, and you see some of the most beautiful buildings and villages, and it's fantastic. And I know Martina and her team are continuously trying to enhance that and promote it. And please God, it will. But we have a beautiful county. And I mean, it's a small, compact county compared to some, so it's very easy to manage. It's very easy to get around there, and hopefully it'll get better.
We've seen some beautiful places. We've seen Mountcoin, we've seen it in Kells, you have Kells Priory, Innisteak, going down Mullinavat, to Tory Hill. As you said, Matt, it's very, very compact. So with the bus system that is there, and the train station, exactly, with the buses that we have, you could, in theory, create, something that would, allow people to visit these areas.
There's the little secret gems.
Yes, they are. And even now, in the last, I suppose, 6 weeks, a new service there, the Lingon Valley bus service. It comes from Carrick out around the Lingon Valley, Grange Mokler, some beautiful, and again into Wangep, stop off there and have a cup of tea in the beautiful community hall there, and the numbers on that are increasing every week. Every village has something special, some more than others maybe, but what you don't have in one sense, you'll have it in another, and maybe it's the community spirit or some beautiful, I suppose, perfect scenario of I said, the grotto in Winegap, largest grotto in Europe.
Wow.
And people don't realise what's there until they actually walk up around it. It's a fabulous walk. And again, I suppose 90% of people who come to Kilkenny City to visit the city, and that's great. But places like Winegap and all the similar villages, you'd love to see them getting a little taste of what's there,
I kept saying to Paul, God, I love South Kilkenny. And I kept going, what is it about South Kilkenny? Now, do you know what it reminds me of? Now, this, I never noticed it before until the last day. I noticed it when we were down in Muncoyne, but not in Muncoyne, but in the back roads in Muncoyne, the thatched cottages in the mountains.
Yeah.
That it reminded me of Donegal.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't think that.
No.
Because you're down in the valley.
Yes, yeah.
But everywhere I looked, there was mountains. You could see the mountains. But it was the villagers and the people were so friendly.
Yeah. And sometimes ourselves are the last one to consider this. Sometimes you're spoiled by living there. You don't appreciate it maybe until somebody else kind of highlights it and say, "Oh, it was such a village yesterday," like yourself there, and saw how the beauty of it,
And it's all these hidden treasures that people would have known years ago. We walked along the banks, bank that connected between
Glengrant
and Moonvoyne. And even those little things about our history, our culture, and we're not that would be a most treasured gift to give a tourist person, getting to know the culture, getting to know Ireland, getting to see the real villages, which is the heart and soul of the county.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And anybody, and I suppose sometimes if people come to Kilkenny for a couple of days, they will venture out.
Yeah.
For from what we can gather, many of our tourists in Kilkenny are here for the day.
Yes.
And don't get to see the beautiful county that surrounds the city. And it's great to have them. I took it down to the council yesterday and I walked down, and you could hardly walk from the parade to the county council offices. There were that many tourists, and you'd hear the language, that French or American or whatever, and it was the street was lined with tourists, and they were in awe, just looking around and the buildings, and we walk down every day, and you just don't take any notice of it. But I think if when we go somewhere else, we appreciate it. But being at home, you just take it for granted, I think. But Kilkenny is an absolute. If you know yourself, if you're away or if you're in Dublin, and they say where you're from, and you say Kilkenny, I was down in Kilkenny, I love it. It has a very unique attraction.
It does, and it's even when you think about if people thought about it, it's about getting people not just staying in Kilkenny for one day, but stay maybe a week and have and with a plan of the local areas that could be an amazing tourist attraction that would actually help the local economy.
Yeah. And back in 2017, when Prince Charles, as he was, visited Kilkenny, then the spin-off from the UK and elsewhere after that visit, because it just highlighted and promoted Kilkenny, and it looked so gorgeous on the television that time. Massive queries and interest shown, something like that, So Kilkenny does well out of tourism, and it has to, because it's probably for the city. It's the main. But you just love to see him coming for a couple of extra days and venturing out a little bit,
Well, Councillor Jenny Slattery has invited us down again to Mullinavat for the day, and she's going to take us around all the treasures and the most beautiful areas of Mullinavat.
Yeah. Well, Chap is opening his office in the next week or so down there. That might be an opportunity for you to go down. He'll have a little bit of a ceremony to open it, and that might be a good starting point for you to visit the new office. And Chap is delighted with that. We made a promise during the canvass that we would have a base in Mullinavat. So again, that'll open next week. It took a little longer than we had hoped, but again, you're at the mercy of getting work done, and but it's now pretty much ready, and that we believe will energise the whole Mundavat and South Kilkenny side of being I suppose with Chap being associated to the south, and it'll strengthen that and make it more accessible below. And that office will be open probably Monday to Friday or something like that for a start, and we see how it goes. But Mundavat is probably so central. It was our preferred choice in terms of being central from from Monkine, Tullaher, that whole area of the south there, right down to Ferrybank. So that's Chap is really excited about this venture and the next stage of his political life, and it maybe even make him more busy than he is already. But he's looking forward to it, and he's up for the challenge there.
Well, former county councillor, Matt Doran, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Paul and myself today, because there's something that we've noticed is people love to get to know the people involved in politics, local politics, and the people in the team in the office as well.
Yeah, because I think people they underestimate Roisin, the logistics that goes into operating maybe 3 or 4 constituency offices, and they all have to, get the same attention. No office is as a lesser importance than another.
Absolutely.
And it is to be able to provide the service that you provide to the general public. It is a big operation.
And look, as I said, Kilkenny is now up and running for the last number of months. Greg Namana continues there on a Monday night, Monday evening, and now Mundavat is about to open. And post September, we'll have in place maybe clinics throughout the county as well. And we'll look forward to getting out there and having a presence for a few hours as well, and again making more accessible to the general public. But as I said, if there's anybody out there, wherever they might be, and we don't mind calling out to them. We're doing it all the time. So just give us a call here in the office, and we'll make sure we get out to see you.
And Bobby Elwood's legacy, it still lives on.
What a man, yeah. What a man.
Well, the Irish Political Roundup also has a story about Bobby Elwood, because he was one of my subjects in my dissertation when I was in college about media experiences. So Bobby really contributed to that.
Is
so
that right?
He's part of the Irish Political Roundup.
Yeah. He was a gem, an absolute gem. Yeah.
I got a lovely cup of tea when I was interviewing up in Leinster House. The nicest cup of tea ever.
That'd be guaranteed.
Yeah. And Lawrence also charged my phone for me.
Yeah. That'd be him. Yeah.
And our first ever programme was a tribute to Bobby Elwood.
Yeah, it was.
3 years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah. September, 3 years ago. 17th of September.
Yeah. Bobby's name would arise every week here in one sense or the other. Either memories or somebody who had an interaction with him. Anyone who interacted with Bobby, there was always fond memories. He was an incredible, generous man with his time. My own daughter worked with him for 5 or 6 years, and she was broken-hearted when Bobby passed, because he was an absolute gentleman, as is Chap. I mean, we're lucky to have, here in Kilkenny, people of that calibre. Who are just, as I said, and Bobby and Chap would be similar in a lot of ways in terms of the personality, very family focused and dedicated, but also hugely generous with their time. And Chap will make himself available morning, evening, night. It doesn't make any difference, and that's what you have to do. And he makes no bones and seeks no bonus for that. So look, as I said, if there's anybody out there that would like to talk to him or any of us in the team here, we have a great team with various strengths and weaknesses, but collectively we're a fantastic team, I think. And where we lack in one area, one of the team will make up for us in the other, and then Chap will have the general overall drive and energy to work with us. And love my job.
And on that note, we love you for watching and listening to the Irish Political Roundup.
Goodbye for now.